I remember the day she said I was holding her back. My heart sank as I thought about it. I noticed how she would often roll her eyes when I talked about my dreams, and it felt like a heavy weight in my chest. It made me feel small and unsure. All those years we spent together were filled with whispers of jealousy and doubt, and I finally realized that if I wanted to grow, I had to let her go. It was a hard choice, but it was the only way to find my own freedom. As I started to build a new life full of bright colors and possibilities, I couldn't help but wonder what happens when the one who leaves is the one who truly shines. Our paths became so different, and I had to face some hard truths about myself and our time together. When I first saw Jenny walk into the cafe, I felt a spark. She lit up the room, and I couldn't help but be drawn to her. We started talking, and it felt like we were old friends. Her laughter was contagious, and I was mesmerized by her beauty. But as we talked more, I realized something wasn't quite right. As perfect as she seemed. At first, everything was great. We shared ideas and giggles, and I thought we were building something special. But soon, her jealousy popped up like a dark cloud. I thought I was helping her, but she made me feel like I was holding her back. "You're holding me back," she said one night, her voice sharp. It cut deep. Did she really love me, or just want someone to cheer her on? I wanted to believe in us, but the pressure was too much. I felt stuck, caught between love and the feeling that something was off. The magic we shared turned into confusion. I loved Jenny, but I knew I had to look out for myself. I was in a maze of emotions, and it was leading me to a choice I never wanted to face. One day, I confronted her. "Jenny, why do you always act like I'm the bad guy?" I asked, my heart racing. She looked at me with those beautiful eyes, but there was something cold behind them. "Because you are." She shot back, rage flaring. I stepped back, stunned. The person I thought I knew was slipping away, replaced by someone I barely recognized. I realized I had to break free. The love I thought was magical was turning poisonous. I took a deep breath, knowing it was time to let go. "I can't do this anymore," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. Jenny's face twisted in shock, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of hope that maybe she understood. But then, it disappeared, and I knew I had to walk away. I thought I found the perfect love with Jenny, but it turned out to be a big lie. At first, she was everything I dreamed of. Her laughter lit up my days, and we shared our dreams under the stars. But soon, I started to see the cracks in her pretty mask. There were things she was hiding, and they were starting to show. I felt stuck in a relationship that was meant to make me happy. I wanted to help her chase her dreams, but she said I was pulling her down. It hurt like a knife twisting in my heart. I thought I was her partner, but I was just a piece in her game. The more I tried to reach out, the further she pulled away. The love I thought was real turned sour. I felt like I was just an actor in her play, while she changed the plot whenever she wanted. She was too scared to face her own fears, so she blamed me instead. When I finally walked away, it felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I understood I deserved more than a fake love. I was ready to face the truth and build my own life. Even though my heart hurt, I knew I needed to find the real me, far away from her beautiful illusion. "Jenny, I can't do this anymore," I said, my voice steady. "I'm not your puppet." She looked shocked. "You're the one who doesn't understand. I need more." "More? Or just a different stage to play on?" I shot back, anger boiling beneath my skin. Jealousy wrapped itself around my relationship with Jenny like a snake. I didn't see how close we were to breaking apart. Every time I spoke to someone else, her eyes darkened with suspicion. It was like a big weight on my chest. I tried to comfort her, but nothing worked. The tension bubbled just under the surface, ready to burst. Then, it happened. One day, she burst. "You're holding me back," she yelled, her voice slicing through the air. Those words hit me hard. I thought I was cheering her on, but to her, I was the wall in her way. Anger rushed through me, mixed with a deep sadness. How did we end up here? I wanted to shout that I was trying my best, but the words just wouldn't come. I stood frozen, feeling our love crack and split. I realized we'd reached a breaking point. What once was love now felt like a painful knot. I felt betrayed not just by her, but by the love I thought was real. Letting go felt like jumping off a cliff. I had to do it for my own sanity. I was tired of being stuck in a relationship that felt like a big weight on my chest. Jenny's words, "You're holding me back," rang in my ears. I thought I was helping her, but I realized I was the one stopping her from flying free. Letting go meant she could chase her goals without me, but it also meant facing my biggest fears. When I made that choice, fear hit me hard. I felt betrayed not just by her, but by the love I thought was real. Each day became a fight to rebuild my life. I dove into my hobbies and sought out things that made me smile. I met new friends and found strength inside me that I never knew was there. It wasn't easy. Doubt crept in like a cloud, but I pushed it away. I understood that letting go wasn't about losing someone, it was about finding myself. I was ready to build a life she wouldn't have, a life where I could grow. "Are you sure about this?" my friend Mark asked one day, his brow worried. "Yes," I answered, my voice steady. "I can't keep living like this, it's time for me to be free." I thought breaking up with Jenny would bring me comfort, but instead, it hit me hard like a huge wave crashing down. I quickly learned that healing wasn't going to be easy. Every day felt like climbing a steep mountain. I needed to toughen up to handle the hurt. I tried everything, journaling, talking with friends, but nothing worked. It was like a big hole in my heart that wouldn't fill. What if I made a mistake? Coming in like a shadow. But then, a tiny spark of hope flickered inside me. I chose to focus on myself. I learned to enjoy being alone instead of being scared of it. I picked up painting and even went hiking, finding parts of me I'd forgotten. Slowly, I started to see a glimmer of light. I made it my goal to rise from the ashes of heartbreak. I understood I could find happiness, even if it took time. Every little win made me feel stronger. I can do this without Jenny, I told myself, building my courage step by step. As I moved on, I saw that this painful part of my life was changing me. I wasn't the same person who felt stuck anymore. I was becoming someone who could build a life full of purpose and joy. As I fought to take back my life, I felt like I was uncovering a gift that had been hidden for too long. Each layer I peeled away showed the pain and confusion I'd buried deep inside. I had to find out who I really was. So, I took action. Every day, I pushed myself to try new things, reach out to old friends, and dive back into hobbies that once excited me. I faced a tough lesson. Life was full of ups and downs. When things went wrong, I told myself it was okay to feel hurt. But I couldn't let it stop me. I stared at my past, feeling the weight of my sadness, but I refused to let it control me. I found strength in being open about my challenges. I learned my worth didn't come from my relationship with Jenny or anyone else. I learned to say no. I made decisions that were right for me, not for others. I learned how amazing it was to be alone and hear my own thoughts. I started to believe in myself again. Hope, not fear. Every moment I felt clear-headed brought me closer to who I wanted to be. I was done being a victim of someone else's problems. I was taking back my identity, building out a life that felt like mine. In this journey, I found not just myself but a strong sense of peace and meaning. But just when I thought I was on the right road, a twist hit me hard. Jenny reached out, her words smooth like honey, but I could feel something dark beneath. "I miss us," she said, her voice shaky. "Can we try again?" My heart was beating fast. The old wounds throbbed, but I had to be smart. "No, Jenny," I said, my voice steady. "You can't just come back after everything." The tension hung in the air. I could see the anger flash in her eyes, mixed with despair. "You'll regret this," she snapped, and for a moment, the old fear crept back in. But I stood strong. I wouldn't let her control me again. I once heard that new starts can bring surprising challenges, and that's exactly what happened when Mark came into my life. I met him right after I let Jenny go, hoping for a clean start. At first, he seemed amazing, funny and charming. He pulled me in like a magnet. But deep down, I felt something was off. Mark was a puzzle. He talked about his hard times, but I couldn't shake the feeling he was hiding something. Was he really into me, or just trying to fill the hole Jenny left? Each nice thing he said made me question if he meant it. Doubt crept in, and my heart raced with worry. As I tried to build my new life, I caught onto his tricky words. "You deserve better than what you had," he said, making me wonder if he was trying to mess with my head. I felt like I was in a tug-of-war with my own feelings, wanting to trust him but scared I was being played. I wanted to see the good in him, but my feelings screamed to watch out. Was he using my pain against me? What started as an exciting new link quickly turned into a scary game of trust. I was torn between believing in him and afraid I was headed for another heartbreak. Every moment with Mark taught me that not every fresh start is what it seems. "Why do you say those things?" I finally blurted one day, anger boiling over. "Do you even care about me?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I just want to help you see your worth," he answered smoothly, a hint of something darker lurking beneath his calm facade. My heart beat. Was he really trying to help, or was he just playing me? The thrill of this new romance felt more like a dangerous game with each passing day. Or going into a trap. How do you know when you found a true connection? After I let Jenny go, I felt lost. I wanted something real, something that would help me grow. Then I met Mark at the book club. At first he felt like a breath of fresh air. Our talks were easy, and for the first time in ages, I felt understood. But soon, I started to notice something strange. Mark was charming, but there was a weird feeling. He kept saying things like, "You deserve better," which made me think about Jenny. Was he really into me, or was he just playing games with my feelings? Every time we hung out, my heart raced with excitement, but so did my worries. I wanted to trust him, to believe I could move on, but I was scared. I'd just escaped one toxic situation, and now I might be stepping into another. I realized I needed to figure out what I truly wanted. Was Mark worth my time? Or was he just a distraction? I had to trust my gut and not settle for less than I deserved. I took a deep breath, ready to face the truth. "Mark," I said one day, looking him in the eye, "what do you really want from me?" He paused, the smile fading. "I just want to help you," he answered, but his tone was off. "Help me? Or use me?" I shot back, feeling the stress rise. He shifted, and for a moment, quiet hung heavy between us. I could feel my heart beating. I wanted to believe in him, but the shadows of my past loomed large. "I'm not here to hurt you," he repeated, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. As I walked away, I knew I had to protect myself. I wouldn't let myself be influenced again, no matter how tempting it seemed. I had to find my own way, and that meant being brave enough to say no. Walking away from Mark felt like winning a game, but questions snuck in like sneaky shadows. I thought I was free, but a huge weight of self-doubt pressed on my chest. Did I really make the right choice? I asked myself. What if I ran from something great? These questions chased me, making me second-guess everything. Insecurity took over my life. I wondered if I was enough to be happy, enough to succeed, enough to forget the past. My friends told me to be proud of my strength, but all I felt was confusion. When I thought about my future, it was like looking into a thick fog of what-ifs. The fear of messing up again gripped me tight, making it hard to breathe. Mark had a way of making me feel important, but it felt like I was under his microscope. His charm turned into pressure. Now that he was gone, I felt lost in a world that used to make sense. I replayed moments in my mind, looking for clues I might have missed. Did I ignore the signs? I wondered. Facing these questions was tiring. I wanted to build a life of my own, but fear held me back. I wished I could quiet that nagging voice telling me I wasn't good enough. Yet, deep down, I knew I had to keep going, to find my strength and take back my life from the shadows of doubt. Why do I keep thinking about him? I mumbled to myself one night, staring at the ceiling. The darkness felt thick, and I could almost hear Mark's laughing echoing in my mind. I shook my head. No more. I deserve better. I thought I was finally moving on, but then Jenny came back. One night, my phone buzzed, and there she was. I felt my heart pound. Did she really want me back, or was this just another game? I agreed to meet her, but my stomach twisted with worry. When we sat down, I saw how different she was. Her eyes looked sad, like she regretted something. "I need you back," she said. Those words hit me hard. Hadn't I heard them before? Old feelings sparked inside me, but I couldn't tell if she was being honest or just trying to control me again. Jenny talked about how lonely she'd been since we broke up. She shared her problems, but I remembered all the times she hurt me. I wanted to trust her, but questions filled my mind. Didn't she once say I was holding her back? The air felt heavy between us. I understood she might be desperate to fill an empty space in her life. But I'd worked hard to make a new life for myself, free from her influence. I couldn't let her back in, Could I? I knew I had to protect what I'd built, no matter how much mental chaos she brought back with her. Why now? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I messed up, she answered, her eyes pleading. But I had to think of myself. Could I trust her again? I didn't want to go back to the dark times. I felt the stress rise, and I knew this meeting could change everything. Maybe you should just leave, I said, trying to sound tough. Jenny looked hurt, but I couldn't let her see my weakness. As she stood to leave, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. I wanted to scream, "Don't go," but I knew I had to stay strong. I watched her walk away, the door shutting on what was once a toxic love. I thought letting Jenny go was the right move, but deep down, I felt a huge weight in my chest. I still remember our laughs, our hopes, and how she looked at me with so much love. Those images stick with me like a bad dream. We shared our secrets, talking about our future like it was a fairy tale, but I messed it up. I told myself she was better off, but what if I was wrong? Every day, I faced my choice. I lost myself in work and new friends, trying to forget her. But nothing worked. I kept replaying our last talk in my head. Did I really hold her back? Or was I just an easy target for her anger? Seeing other couples together hurt. I thought I was freeing her, but now I felt trapped by my own choices. I built a life, but it felt empty without her. The sorrow was like a heavy rock in my stomach. I wanted to scream, to tell her how much I missed her, but I kept telling myself I did it for her happiness. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that I lost a piece of me when I let her go. One night, I was drowning in my thoughts when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Jenny. "Can we talk?" My heart raced. What if she felt the same way? What if she was still hurt? I stared at the screen, torn. Should I respond? Should I face the past I tried to escape? My fingers hovered over the keys, and I knew this could change everything. As I dug deeper into my relationship with Mark, a nagging feeling crawled into my head. Something was off about him. His charm felt too smooth, almost like he was playing. I started to wonder what Mark really wanted from me. I remembered how he talked about Jenny. He acted like he cared, but I felt something shady behind his words. Every nice thing he said felt like a trick. "You deserve so much better," he'd say, but it felt like he was trying to make me question myself. Was he really my friend? Or was he just waiting to use my weaknesses? The more I thought about it, the more I felt like I was walking into another trap. I questioned everything. I looked for his past, hoping to find answers. What I found shocked me. Mark had a past of manipulating others to get his way. A chill ran down my back. Had I opened my heart to someone who only wanted to take advantage of me? Each new finding cut deeper. I wanted to believe he cared, but the truth was clearer than ever. I was caught in a twisted lie, and I had to escape. I couldn't let Mark's secret plans ruin my chance to be happy again. I had to trust myself this time. "Mark," I said one day, my voice steady but fierce, "I know what you're doing. You're not fooling me anymore." His smile faded, and I saw a flash of anger in his eyes. "What do you mean?" He shot back, but I stood my ground. "Don't play games with me. I won't fall for it again." He stepped closer, trying to charm me back, but I was done. I needed to break free from his web of lies. The battle for my heart was over, and I was ready to fight for my happiness. I was stuck in a messy love triangle, and it felt like I was spinning out of control. I thought I was going on with Mark, but then Jenny showed up out of nowhere, and everything got messy. It was like being trapped in a spider's web, where every pull sent me in a different way. I was torn between my old feelings for Jenny and my new relationship with Mark. "Please, just give me another chance," Jenny begged, her eyes full of tears. My heart ached, but I remembered how she'd hurt me before. I just dodged her emotional games, and I didn't want to fall back into that trap. Mark seemed nice and charming, but something about him made me uncomfortable. Was he really interested in me, or was I just someone he could use? As days went by, the stress grew thicker. I started to doubt everything: my feelings, my decisions, and even who I could trust. Was Jenny really sorry, or was she just trying to pull me back in? And what about Mark? Was I just a part in his game? Every time I talked to either of them, it felt like a fight. "I care about you," Mark would say, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he had a secret plan. Jenny would promise she'd changed, but I could see the flicker of trickery in her eyes. I needed answers, but the love triangle felt like a cage. I had to find a way to leave this mess. I was done with pain and betrayal, but I knew the stakes were high. Each choice could lead to disaster, and I had to choose wisely before it was too late. When I learned the truth about Mark, I knew I had to face him. My heart raced as I sat across from him, ready to dig for answers. I'd trusted him, thinking he was different from Jenny. But now, I felt like I was looking at another person who twisted my feelings. It hit me hard. I had major trust issues, and they were dragging me down. Mark had snuck into my life, claiming to be my rock. But as Jenny's words replayed in my head, I felt fear rise. I was trapped in his lies, and the power I thought I had was fading. I couldn't be a victim anymore. I had to face my fears and the hurt that came with betrayal. "Why did you lie to me?" I ordered, my voice steady even as I felt like a storm was brewing inside. I wanted answers. I needed something to heal the wounds he'd reopened. Mark's confident mask started to slip, and I caught a glimpse of the truth behind his charming smile. In that moment, I knew that facing deception wasn't just about him. It was about taking back my power. I stood up, feeling stronger than I'd in ages. I wouldn't let betrayal control me. I was ready to break the circle of pain, ready to build a life filled with trust and honesty. It was time to take back my story. "I'm done playing your games," I said, my voice clear. Mark's expression changed, surprise flashing across his face. I left the room, feeling a rush of freedom. I had no longer let anyone control my heart. It was time for a new starting. How could I've missed the warning signs? As I listened to Jenny spill the truth, my stomach twisted in knots. I trusted Mark, but now I felt a deep sting of deception. I needed to discover his past. Something was definitely off. I jumped on my computer, fingers flying over the keys. The more I searched, the more confused I became. His job stories sounded too good to be true, and there were whispers online about shady deals. Each click felt like I was pulling away layers of a dark secret. I was obsessed with finding out what he was hiding. I reached out to friends who knew him, desperate for information. What I found shook me. Mark had a past of manipulation. I was just another piece in his game. I felt fear rise in my chest. This charming man was nothing but a mask. Every new detail felt like another stab in the back. I couldn't let this continue. I needed answers and the strength to confront him. I had to face him with the truth I'd uncovered. It was time to take back my life. I refused to be a victim anymore. The truth was out there, and I was determined to find it, no matter how much it hurt. "Mark!" I yelled as I stormed into his room. He turned, surprise flashing across his face. "We need to talk." "What's going on?" he asked, trying to play innocent. "Cut the show. I know about your past. Why didn't you tell me?" I demanded, my voice calm but my heart racing. He paused, a shadow crossing his face. "I didn't want to scare you away." "Scare me away? You've already failed me." I shot back. His eyes darkened. "You don't understand. I had to do what I did to survive." Survive? By lying to me? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "It wasn't just lies, it was survival," he snapped, anger bubbling up. I took a step back, realizing the truth stung more than I expected. This poisonous love had twisted everything. I wasn't just hurt. I was angry. I deserve better than this. "I won't let you control me any longer." The room fell silent as I stood my ground. I had found my strength, and I wasn't backing down. The truth was finally in the open, and it was time for me to regain my power. As I stood in Mark's room, I could feel the tension thick in the air, pushing me to speak up. My heart raced, beating loud enough to drown out everything else. I was tired of the lies and the games. Today, I was taking back my power. "I don't need anyone to define me," I shouted one afternoon, my voice booming in the empty room. I learned my worth wasn't tied to someone else's opinion. I needed limits. I was done giving my power away. My dreams mattered, and I could chase them without waiting for permission. But each day was a fight. Doubts crept in. Did I make the right choice? I wondered, feeling the sting of treachery. Would I ever escape the shadows of my past? Still, every challenge pushed me closer to the independence I wanted. Then, things moved. I looked around and saw a world I could conquer on my own. I didn't need someone else to feel whole. I can do this, I stated, feeling empowered. I was ready to face whatever life threw at me. Embracing freedom wasn't just a choice, it was my lifeline. I'm not your puppet anymore, I said strongly, breaking free from the chains of someone else's expectations. That realization changed everything. I was finally free. As I stepped into this new chapter of my life, my heart raced. Excitement fought with fear. I was finally breaking free from my past, but the memories of deception still haunted me. I had to focus on myself. No more poisonous love. No more manipulation. It was time to heal. I picked up a paintbrush and let my feelings flow onto the canvas. Each splash of color felt like a release. I took long walks in the woods, pushing my legs to go further. The trails stretched out like my hopes. With every step, I was leaving behind the pain. I set big goals. I wanted to travel, meet new friends, and really live. It seemed impossible, but I wouldn't let fear stop me. I joined a neighborhood community group, and it felt like a spark had ignited inside me. I met people who believed in me, who told me that I was worth more than I'd ever thought. But thoughts of Jenny would sneak up on me. I'd feel a heavy sadness, like a weight on my chest. Why did you do this to me? I'd speak into the empty room. I had to fight back. Instead of drowning in sadness, I turned that pain into fuel. Healing was messy, but I was learning to be stronger every day. I understood that building my new life meant being true to myself. I wasn't just going on. I was transforming. I wasn't just living. I was thriving. This was my journey, and I was ready to own it. Hey, let's go hiking this weekend. One of my new friends called out, snapping me from my thoughts. Absolutely. I need to feel the fresh air, I answered, a smile breaking through. Building my new life was a wild ride, and I never expected the lessons it would bring. Letting Jenny go felt like a big storm in my heart, but I quickly realized it was about me, too. I dove headfirst into self-discovery, facing my fears like a knight fighting dragons. I had to put my happiness first. I had spent so much time focused on her that I forgot about myself. As the days passed, I got tougher. Pain was just a part, not the whole story. Sure, I felt betrayed, but each sunrise made me feel a little better. I discovered my worth didn't depend on someone else's smile. Breaking free from guilt was scary, but it felt like breathing fresh air after being underwater. Every moment without Jenny turned into a lesson in loving myself. I found happiness in tiny things, like curling up with a great book or wandering through the park. I made new friends who lifted me up instead of dragging me down. I learned to set limits and say no when I needed to. Those lessons were tough, but they changed my world. Trust became a fragile glass ball. I had to be careful about who I let in. Betrayal made me cautious, but it didn't steal my belief in love. Instead, it taught me to cherish the real connections I found later. Each lesson helped me build a life that was truly mine, one step at a time. After I let Jenny go, I quickly learned that getting better wasn't easy. It felt like driving on a bumpy road with no plan. Every day was a new task, and I had to face the hurt head-on. I felt betrayed and upset, but deep down, I knew I had to grow. I had to learn who I really was without her. It wasn't a fun trip. I started writing down my thoughts in a book. That became my secret place to let out my feelings. I had to beat my fears. I couldn't let what happened in the past control my future. I worked on trusting myself again and slowly started to trust others too. It was hard, but every tiny win felt like climbing a mountain. I wanted to feel strong again, so I set new goals. I needed to be happy, so I found friends who lifted me up. They told me that I could have a purpose again. I picked up new hobbies and explored things I'd forgotten about. I don't need anyone to define me. I shouted one afternoon, my voice booming in the empty room. I learned my worth wasn't tied to someone else's opinion. I needed limits. I was done giving my power away. My dreams mattered, and I could chase them without waiting for permission. But each day was a fight. Doubts crept in. Did I make the right choice? I wondered, feeling the sting of treachery. Would I ever escape the shadows of my past? Still, every challenge pushed me closer to the independence I wanted. Then, things moved. I looked around and saw a world I could conquer on my own. I didn't need someone else to feel whole. I can do this, I stated, feeling empowered. I was ready to face whatever life threw at me. Embracing freedom wasn't just a choice, it was my lifeline. I'm not your puppet anymore, I said strongly, breaking free from the chains of someone else's expectations. That realization changed everything. I was finally free. As I stepped into this new chapter of my life, my heart raced. Excitement fought with fear. I was finally breaking free from my past, but the memories of deception still haunted me. I had to focus on myself. No more poisonous love. No more manipulation. It was time to heal. I picked up a paintbrush and let my feelings flow onto the canvas. Each splash of color felt like a release. I took long walks in the woods, pushing my legs to go further. The trails stretched out like my hopes. With every step, I was leaving behind the pain. I set big goals. I wanted to travel, meet new friends, and really live. It seemed impossible, but I wouldn't let fear stop me. I joined a neighborhood community group, and it felt like a spark had ignited inside me. I met people who believed in me, who told me that I was worth more than I'd ever thought. But thoughts of Jenny would sneak up on me. I'd feel a heavy sadness, like a weight on my chest. Why did you do this to me? I'd speak into the empty room. I had to fight back. Instead of drowning in sadness, I turned that pain into fuel. Healing was messy, but I was learning to be stronger every day. I understood that building my new life meant being true to myself. I wasn't just going on. I was transforming. I wasn't just living. I was thriving. This was my journey, and I was ready to own it. Hey, let's go hiking this weekend. One of my new friends called out, snapping me from my thoughts. Absolutely. I need to feel the fresh air, I answered, a smile breaking through. Building my new life was a wild ride, and I never expected the lessons it would bring. Letting Jenny go felt like a big storm in my heart, but I quickly realized it was about me, too. I dove headfirst into self-discovery, facing my fears like a knight fighting dragons. I had to put my happiness first. I had spent so much time focused on her that I forgot about myself. As the days passed, I got tougher. Pain was just a part, not the whole story. Sure, I felt betrayed, but each sunrise made me feel a little better. I discovered my worth didn't depend on someone else's smile. Breaking free from guilt was scary, but it felt like breathing fresh air after being underwater. Every moment without Jenny turned into a lesson in loving myself. I found happiness in tiny things, like curling up with a great book or wandering through the park. I made new friends who lifted me up instead of dragging me down. I learned to set limits and say no when I needed to. Those lessons were tough, but they changed my world. Trust became a fragile glass ball. I had to be careful about who I let in. Betrayal made me cautious, but it didn't steal my belief in love. Instead, it taught me to cherish the real connections I found later. Each lesson helped me build a life that was truly mine, one step at a time. After I let Jenny go, I quickly learned that getting better wasn't easy. It felt like driving on a bumpy road with no plan. Every day was a new task, and I had to face the hurt head-on. I felt betrayed and upset, but deep down, I knew I had to grow. I had to learn who I really was without her. It wasn't a fun trip. I started writing down my thoughts in a book. That became my secret place to let out my feelings. I had to beat my fears. I couldn't let what happened in the past control my future. I worked on trusting myself again and slowly started to trust others too. It was hard, but every tiny win felt like climbing a mountain. I wanted to feel strong again, so I set new goals. I needed to be happy, so I found friends who lifted me up. They told me that I could have a purpose again. I picked up new hobbies and explored things I'd forgotten about. Letting go of Jenny was like cutting a heavy chain that had held me down. I never thought that breaking free would send me on such a wild ride of self-discovery. At first, I felt lost and confused. Did I make a mistake? I wondered. But soon, I saw this was my chance to build a life that was truly mine. As I dove into my hobbies, I found power I never knew I had. I started meeting new friends, and together we laughed and shared stories. I learned to face my fears instead of running away from them. The pain from losing Jenny became my fuel, driving me to move forward. I thought about what I learned from our time together. Love can sometimes hide nasty tricks. I felt betrayed, but I also felt a fire erupt inside me. I won't let her choices ruin my future, I promised myself. I took charge, unwilling to be a victim anymore. Every day was a new chance to grow, to figure out what happiness really meant to me. It wasn't easy, though. There were days when I felt desperate and alone, wondering if I'd ever find peace. Will I be okay? I asked myself. But I kept pushing forward, knowing that each task made me tougher. Letting go wasn't just about losing Jenny, it was about finding the real me. I came out not just unbroken, but ready to build a life she could never touch. Look at me now, I whispered to the mirror, a smile creeping across my face. I was no longer stuck in a toxic love. I was free to chase my dreams stronger and more motivated than ever.